and so that people can enjoy it. Even we have to look at it 3-4 times to really understand it. So Mataji, I'm recording the
You
session.
mean what I say is not understandable?
No, it is so nice, and there's so much rus in it. We can't take it all, so we have to keep on chewing like a mango, sweet mango. We have to keep chewing and taking the rus out of it. Mataji, you can put your video on so everybody can do your darshan.
Oh, my video is not on?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Ah,
Welcome, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
so give us the arm rus that we've been waiting for, the spiritual rus. I hand it
Okay.
over to you now, Mataji.
All right. Jaya Radha Madhava Krishna Vihari Radha Madhava Krishna Vihari Gopi Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki Jai. Om Ajnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I will sing this beautiful prayer to the Bhagavad Gita from Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. Ajnananiradiruphaiti ayamishesham bhakti parapi bhajate pariposhamuchaihi satyam param spurati durgamamapyajasram sadgunya pritsvarachitam pranamami gita. This is a beautiful offering of obeisances unto the Bhagavad Gita, which is the means for eradicating all our ignorance, and which was spoken by the Supreme Lord, who is full of transcendental qualities. So today we are studying verse 54, if I understood, of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized.
Yes.
And so this is actually the last section. This is the first verse of the last section of the second chapter. We've been going through this chapter, and as you know, in this chapter, which is otherwise known as Sankhya Yoga, Krishna is defeating Arjuna's his arguments for not fighting by first giving him the signs of the soul and then explaining him karma, and then explaining him karma yoga and how to act in Buddhi Yoga, with the intelligence fixed on the purpose of life, which is to please the Lord, which is to keep in mind always the spiritual perspective. Because Arjun was overwhelmed. He was overwhelmed with family affection. He was overwhelmed with family affection. And we all are. We are, and this is born from the bodily concept of life. We all are bewildered. We all are bewildered with all our different identification, anartha, and our various attachments. And all these attachments and misidentifications, they don't let us actually see life as it is. They don't let us see life as it is. We are always making mistakes. So after explaining and trying to counteract his argument and wake up Arjuna to the fact that he is the spirit and that his activities should be guided by the Shastra, and Krishna explained him that he should act on the transcendental platform. And now in this last section, is asking him to become fixed in yoga by describing what are the symptoms of sthita prajna. In other words, a person who is steady, who is fixed, and whose intelligence is fixed up in the actual purpose of life. And he will explain this actually in reply to a question by Arjuna. So the verse that we are reading today is Arjuna's question. The Bhagavad Gita, like the Upanishads and like many of the writings in the Vedic scriptures, is always in the form of dialogue. One person is asking questions and another person is answering the questions. And the questions are always meant to help us move forward towards the goal of life. So here is the question. We are going to read it, and we'll read Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is short. Arjuna Vacha Sthita Prajna Saka Bhasha Samadhistasya Keshava Sthitadhi Kim Prabhasheta Kimasita Prajeta Kim. So you understand this word Kim, Kim, Kim? He's asking questions. He's asking questions, and it has been, so we will hear the explanation of these questions, mostly based on the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who has very nicely explained what are these questions. What is he actually asking? So Srila Prabhupada is translating here. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. First of all, in the word forward, Srila Prabhupada says that the sthita prajna is one who is situated in fixed Krishna consciousness. It's a buddhi yogi. Ka bhasha, ka bhasha. Bhasha means usually speech. A speech. So how does he speak? That is how the question. Ka bhasha. What is his language? And samadhistasya keshava. Okay, this goes with sthita pragyasya. The person who is fixed in Krishna consciousness and who is situated in trance. So ka bhasha. What is his language? O Keshava. Sthitadhi, again, He is the intelligence, one whose intelligence is fixed. So Kim, what is it? Kim Prabhasheta. So again, the same language here. It's a question of how does he speak. Same Prabha, ka bhasha, Kim Prabhasheta. So what is his language and how does he speak? Srila Prabhupada translates. And then more questions. Kim Asita. And Asita, Srila Prabhupada in the word forward says, how does he remain still? And in the translation, he says, how does he sit? And the last question is Vrajeta Kim. And Vraja means usually to move around. Prabhupada translated by walking. Vraja, to travel, to move around. So here we have Srila Prabhupada's translation. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? The purport. As there are symptoms, as there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation. Similarly, one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has his symptoms by which he is known as a rich man, as a diseased man has his symptoms by which he is known as diseased, or as a learned man has his symptoms, so a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms from the Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks. For speech is the most important quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak. And certainly a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of a Krishna conscious man is that he speaks only of Krishna and of matters relating to Krishna. Other symptoms then automatically follow, as stated below. So Prabhupada gives in the first sentence of his translation a general question here, but it's actually based on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on this. What are the symptoms? Because this is the general idea, is that Arjuna is asking, how do I recognize somebody, a buddhi yogi, somebody whose intelligence is fixed in the purpose of life, is fixed in the instructions of the Shastra, is fixed in the instructions of the Lord. What does that person look like? And Prabhupada explains here that, yes, we should be able to identify such a question, such a person. We hear, for example, that when somebody wants to accept a spiritual master, we should observe the spiritual master. At least for 1 year, it is said. One should observe the person and then come to a conclusion whether it seems that this person is fixed up in Krishna consciousness or not, in order to accept that person as a guide, a spiritual guide in one's life. So there are symptoms by which we can recognize that somebody's is actually absorbed, whose mind is absorbed in Krishna. So these questions, for those who like to study, they will be answered up to the end of the chapter. The rest of the chapter is Krishna's answer to these questions. And for those who are interested, because you're going to be studying the next verses, the first, it is considered there are 4 questions in this verse here. The first question is, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is merging transcendence? And this will be answered, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in verse 55, in the next verse. And then the next question, how does he speak and what is his language? This is going to be answered in verses 56 and 57. Then the next question, how does he sit? Or as Prabhupada said, how does he remain still? How does he sit? This will be answered in verses 58 to 63. And finally, how does he walk? This will be answered in verses 64 till the end, 72. So, as we heard before, the Bhagavad Gita, like any of the Vedic literatures, are very, very systematic in their presentation. And our acharyas have been very, very meticulous in identifying the various sections, the answers to the various questions, so that we can more clearly grasp the instructions of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada says that the symptoms of a thing reveal the nature of that thing. He gives the examples. There are different kinds of men, like we hear, and this refers mostly, usually everything in the Vedic way is understood according to the modes of nature, which transcribe into the Varnas and the ashrams. And Srila Prabhupada always explains that in the Vedic culture, you can always recognize someone and you will know which Varna they belong. This is the material situation here. Which Varna they belong, which ashram they belong, according to how they are dressed, according to their qualities, the qualities that they will exhibit. So we will recognize the persons like this. And the characteristics of the symptoms, when we see the symptoms, we understand the intrinsic nature of the person. We see someone very simple, or we see someone very opulent. If you see someone dressed very opulently, then naturally you understand, oh, that must be a rich person, even though you may not know the person. So this is the characteristics will reveal the personality of the stita pragya. Then we see that Prabhupada immediately he stresses the second question. How does he speak and what is his language? Here, Srila Prabhupada comes to the point that he says that this is the main quality of a transcendentalist. Because the transcendentalist mind is always thinking about the Supreme Lord, is always thinking of the service of the Lord. So naturally, when he speaks, he will also be speaking about Krishna. And the more he has studied, the more he has realized, the more he'll be able to speak. one time in the Kumbh Mela, Srila Prabhupada was in the Kumbh Mela in Allahabad. You must be knowing this great gathering every 4 years, and in the big one every 12 years in Allahabad. Srila Prabhupada was there, and one day his disciples came to him, and they told him that there is some great saintly person living somewhere nearby, and they wanted to take the permission from Srila Prabhupada to go and see that person. That's what people do in the Kumbh Mela. There are saintly people coming from all over. And so they explained the symptoms of that person to Srila Prabhupada. And they told him that this man, he was very ancient, he was very old. And he was on Mona Vrata, which means he had not spoken. I don't remember for how many, for 25 years or something. He had not spoken for 25 years. So naturally, everyone was very impressed with that. Somebody who hasn't spoken, and it's not that he could not speak, it's that he had chosen not to speak. So the devotees told Srila Prabhupada that, can we go and see him, Srila Prabhupada? And Prabhupada said, very interestingly, what did he say? What would you think? What did he say? Prabhupada was not impressed at all with the Mona Vrata, which is usually more a practice of the jnanis who try to control the senses by stopping the senses from any activity. So no speaking, no walking, no doing anything. This is the practice of the jnanis, which doesn't work because the soul is naturally active. So Srila Prabhupada said, he hasn't spoken for 25 years. That's because he has nothing to say. This was Srila Prabhupada's answer. He has nothing to say. And so Prabhupada was always very talkative. He would talk all the time because he had a message. He had a mission. So he said, that guy has not realized anything. He has not actually realized anything. If he had realized the Lord, he would want to share the Lord with others. What is this staying silent? So Srila Prabhupada, he explained this ka bhasha, kim prabhasheta. This is very important. When we want to know a spiritualist, we should see how that person speaks. And his Prabhupada said this is a fool. A fool is not recognized until he opens his mouth. So this is very important because many people actually get fooled by all kinds of so-called spiritual leaders simply because they have some kind of charisma. They get attracted by all kinds of external things, but then the main characteristic of a saintly person is that that person should be able to enlighten others through the quality of speech. So Srila Prabhupada stressed that in his purport here. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this ka bhasha kim prabhasheta, saying that this actually means not only how he speaks when he, as I said, he speaks about Krishna and so on, but it also means, kim prabhasheta means also how does he respond? Very important. How does he respond? Because you see, we can all look very saintly as long as there is no provocation. Everybody knows that. As long as there is no provocation, or there is no unexpected situation, and then everybody is cool and looks very peaceful and saintly. But what will reveal the actual sthita, how much the mind is fixed and tranquil, how much we are detached as a spiritualist, that will be tested when somebody comes and, for example, insults us, or chastises us, or gives us a bad news, or you know, comes in an inimical mood, a negative mood, tries to hamper our activities and so on. So sometimes there are different ways, because Srila Prabhupada said dealings. He uses the word dealings in the purport. That one is known by his dealings. So somebody is sitting quiet, he's sitting very quiet, and then someone comes and insults him. What will be the response? So here Krishna is going to explain this, that you'll have to see how the person responds. This is how Vishwanath Chakravarti explains. Transcendentalist doesn't mind, doesn't have a false ego. But if the ego is there, then one will burst out, one will fight back against an enemy. Another thing is, and you will see that how Krishna will answer this, that one should be equal in praise and in insult, in praise, and so on. Then we can understand that the person is, absorbed somewhere else. And similarly, many people respond very badly to praise. This is one of the things going on in the world, that people praise. They praise. So what happens when a transcendentalist is praised? This is one of the great dangers of becoming a preacher. It's one of the great dangers of interacting with all the community of aspiring transcendentalists. As soon as somebody gives a lecture, or as soon as somebody looks a little something spiritual, immediately people are pouring out. Ki Maharaj Ji, they call everybody Maharaj Ji. Even me sometimes, I make a mistake. Maharaj Ji, you're so great. Maharaj Ji spoke so well. Maharaj Ji, you're this, that, full Vyasa Puja. And so, how does the person respond? Great difficulty here. If one starts identifying with all the praise and thinking, yes, oh my God, I didn't know I was all that. Wow, this is really, yes, I am like this. Yes, I am like this. And then one becomes puffed up. One becomes proud. One becomes very puffed up. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the Madhurya Kadambini, beautiful work of his that everyone should read, very beautiful. He says that there are obstacles on the path of advancement for a transcendentalist. And one of the obstacles is this: when we don't know how to receive praise, we don't know how to receive donations, for example. Which is, so how do we respond to all these things? People will shower the preacher with Lakshmi, with material facilities, with praise, and so on. And according to how we respond, if we are not well fixed up in Krishna consciousness, we will be moved by these things. And we will be moved in a wrong way. So it is very important. So one of the ways to know whether the person is fixed up is to see how they respond to it. Somebody is praising, do they become all like, ah, or somebody is insulting, immediately they say, what's wrong with you? So if the person is reacting like this, then we should know, okay, let's keep a little distance. So this is very important here. How does one respond when there is insult or enmity, when there is praise, when there is neutrality, he says also. Somebody is just ignoring. Many people don't like to be ignored. So these are some of the points here. If somebody also is angry with us, somebody is actually attacking us, so how will we respond to that? So these questions are going to be, this question is going to be answered by Krishna, mostly by explaining that one should not be moved. One who is beyond the false ego, who doesn't have the false ego. Because here we are talking of someone who is in samadhi, somebody who is really absorbed within, who has gone beyond the mind, the intelligence, the false ego. So that person should not be affected. And that's what Krishna will explain. We should not be affected. And this is also for us in terms of personal application. We can see what happens to our psyche when we meet people and they behave in different ways with us. How do we respond? So the meaning of this ka bhasha kim prabhashita is, how does he speak? What does he speak about? And how does he respond to other people's dealings with him? Very important. And we can, as I say, in personal application, we can judge ourselves and our own spiritual advancement by being introspective and seeing how we respond to what's going on around us. And if we get disturbed all the time, then we should understand that we have a long way to go. Next question is, before I move on, how does he respond as well to various circumstances? I'll tell you a story because stories are very good. I remember many, many years ago, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, I used to do lots of preaching tours. And there was a particular city where the devotees, I had been there, and the devotees really wanted me back. They wanted me to go there. They wanted me to be back there. And they absolutely wanted me there for Mangalarti. So I went out of my way to actually book a train to reach that city at 2:00 in the morning. So I reached the city at 2:00 in the morning because the devotees, you know, they had talks that they really wanted me, because I didn't have many days to spend there. So they said, you have to arrive early so we have the full day, you know, don't arrive in the afternoon. So I arrived at 2:00 in the morning, and well, 2:00 in the morning is nighttime, right? So I got off the train, and when I got off the train, it was bizarre. There was nobody waiting for me on the platform, which usually devotees would come on the platform and welcome. And I said, okay, strange. And so I proceeded, and I came out of the station, and there was nobody at the station. I had a phone with me, so I started phoning. I phoned, guess what? I phoned the temple. Nobody's answering. Nobody's answering at 2, nobody's answering at 2:30, nobody's answering at 3. by then, my transcendentalist psyche is boiling, thinking, what is this? You know, I mean, first they asked me to come early, and next thing, they're all sleeping or what, and they're not coming to get me, you know. And I could observe how my mind was getting disturbed. And I started looking at the trains, and I started psychologically to plan getting back on the first train that goes back to where I came from and never going again to that temple. So, wow. And I was thinking at the same time, you know, you are so unadvanced. You are just being tested today, and see how your mind is responding. You should just be waiting very patiently. There must be some reason why they are not there, you know. But the ego feels neglected. The ego feels, you know, put down. That I am the preacher. I arrive in that town, and they're not even picking me up. After some time, around 4:30 or something, I get a call from a devotee. They says, hello, hello, oh, Mataji, you have come. Oh, we said we forgot. He goes like, last night we were in a preaching program and we finished very late. So actually we didn't wake up in the morning. And now, you know, there was Mangalarti, so we were all busy. We're coming immediately. Oh, and then the first thing he said, can you just take a rickshaw? It was in India. Can you just take a rickshaw and come? And we're like, yeah, sure. You know, at 4:00 in the morning, I'm going to get on the rickshaw to go to some place where that I don't even remember where it is. It's not safe. So we have to observe ourselves always, at all times, and see what's happening with us. Are we humble? Are we humble? Are we peaceful? Are we grateful? This is the great questions that makes the difference between someone who actually understands things from a higher perspective and who is situated on a spiritual platform, and somebody who is just hovering on the mental platform. So we have to, these are very nice questions actually, which are meant for us to observe others, but it's also meant for us to contemplate what kind of person, where we are at. Then there is the next question, how does he sit? How does he sit, Prabhupada translates. And Srila Vishwanath Thakur says this means, how is he when he does not engage his senses? How is he at that time? No engagement. There is, how is he when he doesn't engage the senses? Now, if somebody is full of the mode of passion, as soon as there's no engagement for the senses, they go mad. Because inside there is a volcano, always requiring action. So, and if you leave him in a corner and you don't give him anything to do, it's not going to work. The senses are going to get irritated. The mind is going to get frustrated. So the question is that what does this person do when he's inactive? And Shri Krishna, in response to that, is going to explain that the main symptom of a transcendentalist is sense control. And there are two ways to control the senses. We said one way is to restrain them, to stop all activities. And this is part of the path of jnana. In the Vedas, we hear there is the karma marg, the path of karma. There is the gyan marg, the path of gyan, and engaging the intelligence in pursuit of understanding the absolute. There is the yoga marg, and there is the bhakti marg. So in the Gyan Marg and in the Yoga Marg, but particularly the Gyan Marg, which is not recommended by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, there is this tendency of just not utilizing the senses, because the understanding is as soon as you act, you get involved with the world and with the action and reaction, the system of karma. So, and karma involves that it plans the next birth and the next activities and so on, and the next birth. It brings the reactions which are going to form the next body. So since we don't want to take birth again, the goal of the Gyanis is liberation, because they don't want to take birth again. So they think, let's stop all karma. And because they have no concept of akarma, which means action to please the Lord, they have no concept of that. So they have to stop all activities. I remember many, many years ago, again, it was in 1988, 89, I was performing Brajmandal Parikrama in Vrindavan. There is a system there by which during the month of Kartik, the devotees walk for 1 month all over the different places of pastimes of Krishna. And somehow the first two or 3 years of the parikrama, after that the program was, that particular stop was cancelled, but for 2-3 years we used to stop for one night in a Gyani's ashram, in an ashram which was actually a Mayavadi ashram. But somehow they had rooms and they were a little welcoming. So the whole party would stop in that Gyani ashram. And the atmosphere there, for us who were devotees, on one hand, it looked like these people are so advanced, they're all sitting, doing nothing. And then they served, and then they used to at least feed us one time. And what they would feed us was khichdi without salt. So, devotees, khichdi without salt. Everybody was like, woo, where is the salt? And this was the idea, that they would eat this every day. They would eat every day khichdi without salt. Why? Not to agitate the tongue. Because we know the tongue is the first sense, that if the tongue gets agitated and then you eat more than required, then all the senses are powered, and then the whole body is active. And their philosophy is inaction. So first thing is, do not eat anything palatable which is going to arouse the mode of passion. So, but Srila Prabhupada is going to explain, Krishna will explain that this is one way to restrain the senses, is by force, by repression, by force. But this doesn't work. So the sthita prajna, the person who is fixed, truly fixed, he restrains the senses by experiencing a higher thing. By being truly fixed within, he is experiencing the happiness within. And because he's experiencing this happiness within, which is far superior to the sukha, or the happiness which is experienced from the contact of the senses with the object, which is very, very, Prabhupada calls it a sort of itching. It's a chemical reaction. You put food in the mouth and you feel all kinds of tastes. 6 tastes are activated. You hear sounds, and according to the pitch, according to this, according to that, you feel some kind of well-being. You see things. Um, you see things and you like the forms. So one becomes excited by everything that one perceives. But the kind of impressions these are very external, mechanical. They are perceived through the gross senses. And one who is absorbed within, who is connected with the super soul, experiences ananda. So ananda is different from sukha. Ananda is internal, it's very deep, and it brings satisfaction to the soul. Like, you know, we go to the temple, we sit in the kirtan, and even though we may not be very advanced devotees, we keep going again and again and again. Why do we go again and again and again? Because when we go to the temple, the soul is at home. The soul is hearing kirtan, the soul is saying the shastra, and feels good. It is compared to sitting like in the winter when it's very cold and the body is suffering from cold. So people have a tendency in the natural setting of a village, they will sit around a fire. And you will see, they just sit there, they don't do anything. They just sit around the fire, they just chat a little bit. They sit around the fire. And from the fire is coming the heat, which soothes the body and sends away the cold. So similarly, when we come in contact with Krishna, the soul is feeling that spiritual energy, which is like the heat of the fire, the spiritual energy that comes from Krishna, that comes from the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that comes from the Bhagavad Gita, that comes from the great devotees who carry Krishna within their heart. Bhavad Vida Bhagavata. It says in the Bhagavatam that the great souls, they actually carry Krishna within their heart. And because they carry tirti kurvanti tirtani, it said they transform any place into a place of pilgrimage, swantastena gadavrita, because they carry the Lord within themselves. So when there is a saintly person, or there is a kirtan, or there is katha, the soul is pleased. And we sit there, we don't even know why we are sitting, but we are attracted. Like someone in the winter is sitting still in the presence of a fire. So this is the way to control the senses. And the Sthita Pragya is peaceful because he receives this energy from within, which completely nullifies the need for gratifying the senses from outside. So this is the explanation here. How does he act when he is restrained? Well, he remains very peaceful because he is peaceful within, due to his contact with the super soul. Now, the last question is Vrajeta Kim. Vrajeta Kim. Vrajeta Kim. The idea of Vrajeta, Prabhupada said, how does he walk? So Srila Vishwadhara Chakravarti Thakur explains that walking here indicates activity. Sitting indicated non-activity, and walking indicates activity. How does he act? What does he do? How does he act? What does he do? How does he walk? So the answer that Krishna will give with this is that he does act indeed, but his activities are spiritual. He will perform activities which are in connection to the Supreme Lord. He will be engaged, acting in relation to the Supreme. So this is the idea of devotional service, because Bhakti Yoga, unlike Jnana Yoga, is actually action. And Srila Prabhupada many times said that sometimes we see the devotees, they are doing the same thing as other people are doing. But because their purpose is different, somebody goes to the market and buys fruit. They are buying fruit and they are looking at the fruit already. They are already enjoying the fruit. At the market itself, you see the people are coming and they take the fruit and they smell the fruit and they choose them by smell that this should be good. And they are already starting to enjoy the fruit. Why are they buying the fruit? They are buying the fruit for themselves, to enjoy the fruit or whatever else it is, some cakes or something. Now, the devotee is also standing in the line to buy the fruit. He's also buying the fruit. And the devotee will also make sure that he buys good fruit. But in general, when we become a devotee, we hear that it's better not to smell, because as soon as you smell the food, you already start enjoying it. But the purpose of the devotee in buying the fruit is not to enjoy the fruit, but it is to bring enjoyment to Krishna. It is meant to offer to Krishna. So we don't usually enjoy the fruit or anything, but we will make sure just by looking that we buy the proper things. The difference is that the person who buys the fruit and can't even wait until he reaches home, he's in the car, he's already picking from the bag, and he's already munching on the whatever stuff he has bought. And by the time he reaches home, half of it is already eaten. According to the Bhagavad Gita, such a person eats only sin, because he will get the results of his activities. God is not involved. Who created the fruit? Now, who made the fruit available? Who allows the person to enjoy the fruit? The Lord is always involved. He's the controller of all our activities. So the devotees will do the same thing. In the end, the devotee will also eat the fruit. But he goes through a discipline, through a process. So that is the sthita prajna, that in his activities, he is acting in such a way that the activities become akarma, naturally, because he remembers the Lord. So he chooses the best fruit, and he's not thinking about the fruit, he's thinking about Krishna. And he's self-controlled. He carries the fruit without trying to eat the fruit or anything. He will carry that all the way home or to the temple. And then he will go through a whole process of purification, and then he will offer the fruit. And then after everything is offered, and after Krishna's plate is clean, and after he has finished arti, and after so many activities to please the Lord, put the Lord to rest, and then finally the devotee will honor the remnants of the Lord. So everybody is eating, but in a different way. So how does he walk? Involves how does he conduct himself in his daily activities? Is he, having the life of a sense enjoyer, or is he very disciplined and always putting Krishna first? So these are very good questions, and they, as I said, they are meant for us to determine whether we should, hanker for the association of a particular person in terms of our spiritual advancement, or they are meant to analyze our own self and be able to actually, they are there to guide us, that to identify the symptoms in ourselves, how much we are advanced, how much we have actually gone beyond the identification with the body, with the mind, how many material desires are there. This is something that Krishna will explain in terms of how does he sit. He is not moved by material desires. So these are some words that I wished to speak about this verse. It's a question by Arjuna. I don't remember, I think there are like 14 or something questions by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. So questions are important. And the answer, of course, very important, but questions are very important. Srila Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavatam that the questions should be asked with the purpose of elucidating the truth. That is the purpose of a question, Brahma Jigyasa. We should try to elucidate the truth and ultimately know about the absolute truth. Questions are not meant to challenge the speaker, or questions are not meant to exhibit one's own learning and so on. The questions are meant to elucidate the truth. And the process of inquiry, we know that Arjuna is asking all these questions after surrendering to the Lord. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadakshinaha. This process of inquiry is made very clear that there should be surrender, there should be question, and there should be service also. When these three things are there, then there will be a relationship between the teacher and the student, and there will be learning. So, okay, so I will stop here, and let's see whether there is any question by anybody. Thank you very much for being very attentive.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, there are lots of questions and comments. Allow me to read the first question. In one of the lectures, I think it was the last time when you joined our group, you said that you will find your position with Krishna. In what is your relationship with Krishna, it will come to you. And so the question is, can you be in different rasas in the relationship with him?
Whether we can...
Sorry?
No, it's okay. I just thought who's asking this question.
Okay. So, can I repeat the question, Mataji?
Yes, please repeat. Can we be in different rasas with Krishna?
Yes. So can you be in Shanta Rasa and then be in a Sakya Rasa and then be in Madhurya Rasa, or when you find your position, you'll just be in one static rasa?
Yes, in general, Srila Prabhupada has explained that we have an eternal relationship with Krishna. We are related to Krishna like the rays of the sun are related to the sun. There is no separation ever, but our relationship has become covered. When we say our knowledge has become covered, it means it includes this, that the main part of knowledge is our relationship with Krishna. Who is Krishna for me? and who am I for him? This is what we have forgotten. So the process of devotional service will uncover, first of all, our devotional attitude. In this world, we have a domineering attitude. We dominate, we want to dominate. That's the reason why we are in conditioned life. So the process of devotional service will turn around this mentality and make us a servant. And as the devotee progresses further and further, deeper and deeper in Krishna consciousness, the devotee will perceive, will be attracted to a specific type of relationship with Krishna. Some people, and this happens, it's something which happens, it's not going to happen now to us when we are still in a completely conditioned state. The revelation of one's relationship with Krishna, it happens only after something which is called anartha nivritti, when we are free from most of the unwanted things which are born from passion and ignorance. Free from this false identification with the body, free from attachment, free from material desires. So we're not there yet, okay? But for those who advance in Krishna consciousness, so at some point, by listening, by hearing, by chanting, and by hearing Krishna Katha, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and all the literatures which are written in pursuance of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is full of descriptions of the relationship between Krishna and his devotees. He has friends, he has lovers in the gopis, he has parents, he has relationships with the trees and the creepers of Vrindavan. So as we read these pastimes, when we are in the conditioned state like us, we appreciate the pastime to some extent. Or we would say, for example, when you go to the temple, in Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, in so many temples, you will see mostly you will see most of the children and the men, they are very fond of Krishna Balaram. Jai Krishna Balaram, Jai Krishna Balaram. And then during darshan or after darshan, you'll find all the women are on the Radha Shyama Sundar side altar in front of Radha and Krishna and the gopis. So does this mean that all the men are in Sakya Ras and all the women are in Madhurya Ras? No, it doesn't mean that. It's not this. It's more that because we are identified with our material body, somehow we can't get out of it. So the men see Krishna Balaram and they can more identify, because these are male-like forms. And the mood is like friendship, and the mood is challenge, and the mood is so many things, brave, being brave, and courage, and there is fighting, so men will more identify with that. And then on the gopis side, on that altar, then the women are like, yeah, just look at the dresses, just look at how they are dressed and how they are beautiful. And then, this idea of having Krishna as their lover is very natural for women. But that doesn't mean that all these people have already realized their Swarupa or their actual relationship with Krishna. No. This is made very clear. This is made very clear that a man can develop Madhurya Rasa towards Krishna. And indeed, we see all our great acharyas, they were in the mood of manjaris and so on. And a woman can develop friendship with Krishna. So it goes beyond the material body. But first we should go beyond the material body, and then we will discover what is our relationship. First, we will understand in general what kind of mood we would like to aspire for. And then once we get some kind of indication within of what kind of mood we are desiring to relate to Krishna with, then we kind of have a specialized hearing, and we hear the pastimes which are related to that mood. And then as we become more and more and more enlightened, we actually one day understand not just that I am a friend of Krishna or a lover of Krishna, but which one? In other words, we have to remember our original name. We have to remember what is our service, what is our activity in relation to Krishna. So this is the goal of Krishna consciousness. It is the goal. Just that it goes first through sadhana bhakti, and it goes through a lot of purification. It's not available usually to the newcomer, although in association with great, great devotees, we can have glimpses of bhava, or the mood of devotional service. Is that okay?
Yes, Mataji, thank you very much. Let me go to the next question. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. This is from Rachel Mataji. On Maunavrata, I heard from very reliable sources in the Holy Name retreat that when we chant purely, there is an echo that remains in us, even when we are done with chanting. But because we do not do a lot of prajalpa when we talk, our chanting doesn't leave any echo in us. So it's best to do Maunavrata once in a while so as to keep the echo of chanting in us. Please clarify this.
Yeah, okay. Yes, when we chant very deeply, there will be an echo in the sense that throughout the day, even throughout the night, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is going to continue repeating within our consciousness, within our mind. So that's very nice. And when we talk of things different from Krishna, then these things are also going to echo in our mind. Huh? If we hear non-devotional songs, if we watch films, or if we read too many newspapers, this is what is going to be roaming within our mind. Or if we speak prajalpa of all kinds, this is going to be roaming in our mind, and it's going to replace the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So definitely a devotee speaks only as much as required. And we are advised by Srila Rupa Goswami to minimize specifically mundane talks. So this minimizing mundane talk is that it may be what we can call Maunavrata, but not that the devotee is ongoingly on Maunavrata, because for devotional service, we need to speak, we need to communicate, we need to speak with others. And the main practice is to hear and chant and speak about Krishna. So you understand, here it is, what do you say, the fact that we should not be talking unnecessarily of things which are not related to Krishna. So that can be called Maunavrata. Suppose you meet somebody and that person is blah, 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 downloading all kinds of latest news from the material world. So what are you going to do? Are you just going to comment and respond? No, you just keep quiet. So that is the kind of Mona Vrata that the devotees practice, minimizing mundane talks. Yes. But not that there is service to perform and the devotee is asking you, where did you put the Achman cup last night when you finished the seva? I need the Achman cup, and you go like, that is nonsense, Mona Vrata. So you have to understand that everything can be used in Krishna's service, including Mona Vrata, but it has its place. It should not be misused.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Another question is, you said they didn't have salt in the khichdi, and that was because the explanation was because salt creates the mode of passion. So even we don't have onions and garlic. So is that because it activates the mode of passion? I mean, if salt is allowed, then why not onions and garlic?
Yeah, okay. Onion and garlic, we do not eat because, yes, they are in passion and ignorance. If I remember, onion is in the mode of ignorance and garlic is in the mode of passion. So, number one, we do not want the influence of ignorance or passion in our consciousness. Everybody knows if you want to have a good sleep, you eat onions. Onions will put you to sleep because they are in the mode of ignorance and they are going to bring indolence, sleep. But the main reason why we don't take them, besides the fact that it will affect our own consciousness, is that Krishna does not accept them as an offering. Krishna, Vishnu, the forms of the Lord, Narayana, they are worshipped in the mode of goodness. The Lord is Sattvatanu. He is a manifestation of the mode of goodness. So he accepts worship in the mode of goodness, minimum, otherwise transcendental. So he does not accept foods which are tamasic. He's worshipped with sattvic paraphernalia. So, and we as devotees, we eat only prasada. Here where I am, we are studying Ishopanishad. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagattena tyaktena bhunjita. That we are actually, we have a quota. We are not enjoyers. We are secondary enjoyers. We enjoy after Krishna has enjoyed. And we enjoy what Krishna has enjoyed. So Krishna is not worshipped with things in the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion. He is worshipped with things in the mode of goodness. So whatever he does not take does not become prasada. And therefore, we are not taking that because a devotee is fully dependent on Krishna and only accepts Krishna's remnants and nothing else. And it's not just Krishna's remnants, it's actually Guru's remnants. So a devotee does not heed left and right and this and that, going to all kinds of places where there are all kinds of temples, where they worship all kinds of deities and all kinds of personalities, and said, oh, little prasad, this is some prasad. But whose prasad? We take Guru prasad. That is our vow. We take Guru prasad. Something which has been offered in our own Guru Parampara. That is our main food. We usually don't take food here, there, whatever, as far as possible, as practical as possible. So you understood, these things are not offerable to Lord Vishnu. So therefore we do not take them. It's the same with mushrooms. Mushrooms are some kind of vegetal life which grows in darkness without They do not absorb the rays of the sun. They grow in the darkness. And so we also do not offer that to Krishna. Like we do not offer meat to Krishna. That is tamasic. So whatever is not offered to Krishna, we cannot eat it because we are dependent entities. And it's not just a question of dependence, but it's also a question of love. That is a little higher concept, that we only want to eat what our beloved has eaten. We do not want to eat just anything.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. Very well explained. You also explained the Jnana Yoga symptoms. However, can you please throw some light on the Karma Yoga symptoms?
Well, Krishna, that's what he has been explaining. Karma Yoga means action. And karma refers to actions in this material world. This is what is defined by Varnashram, that activities in this world are regulated by the Vedas in terms of the gunas which control the various people. And so everybody is supposed to, karma means activity, and it specifically means activity which brings reaction. But in general, it means activity. So we are forced to act in this world. We cannot remain inactive. Not just because the soul is ever active, but because of the way this world is made. What is the problem in this world that makes us act? The first thing that makes us act is hunger. This is the basic problem in this world, is that this body is made of food. It's called the Anna Purusha. It is made of food. Whatever we eat becomes this body. If you stop eating and drinking, this body disintegrates. It stops functioning, it dies. So we are forced to eat. And in order to eat, you have to do something. So this is where the Vedas come into play. Karma means activity to maintain the body. This is basically karma. It's activity to maintain the body. So this is where the Vedas come into play and explain the difference between karma, vikarma, akarma. And so karma is activity for the maintenance of the body. We are also impelled to act due to material desires within our heart. It's not enough to eat, but you want to eat more. So that one thing is to eat for hunger, to satisfy hunger, and then comes in the mode of passion and the material desire, and you want to eat more. That's why no namak. Because the more the food is tasty, the more you want more, more, more. Give me more. Until you collapse dead on the floor. There was a girl, I won't say she's, but sometimes we are a little funny. I met one girl one time in Mayapur, and her name was Ashtashaki. Very nice name, Ashtashaki. Living in Mayapur for many years. Very nice devotee. But very funny. One time I was eating with her, and I see, oh my God, what is she doing? Here comes the sweet, gulab jamun. And she takes 8. Like, 8? How do you eat 8 gulab jamun? And she goes, yeah, my name is Ashtashaki. I eat all sweet by 8 in 8 number. Anyway, this is a parenthesis. So karma is activity to maintain the body, right? And so the Vedas have regulated this by giving prescribed duties for those who are dominated by the mode of ignorance. They are called Shudras. They belong to this category of Shudra. So they have a specific duties. And then those who are between passion and ignorance, they are called Vaishyas. They have a certain type of engagement activity. And then there are those who are highly in the mode of passion and very, you say, virya, they have this power, teja. So for them, there are administrative duties, ruling duties, and there are so many do's and don'ts in those things and so many responsibilities. And then there are those who are under the mode of goodness. For them, there is teaching, there is study, there is this and that. So this is given by the Vedas. And when one sticks to one's own duties, then he makes progress towards the goal of life. And the idea is not to remain on the stage of karma, because karma means you act for yourself, for your own maintenance. And then Srila Prabhupada explains there is the ego and there is the extended ego. Oh, it's not for me, it's for my family. But Prabhupada said, no, this is going from I to we. It's the same. Instead of just being egoistic and just working for oneself and one's own enjoyment, one who is slightly more elevated, he wants to work for the kutumba. He works for the family. And then, make sure that they enjoy. Not just I enjoy, but they enjoy. But what is this idea of family? It's just an extension of our body. Because the children have come out of our own body, then they are like extensions. So Prabhupada calls this extended ego. So the whole idea of karma is that the goal of Varnashram is Haritoshanam. It is the pleasure of the Lord. That when we act, even when we act for our own self, the idea of karma yoga is that we learn to link our activities. Yoga means linking. We learn to link our activities to the Lord. So how do we do that? The first thing is karma yoga means that you don't enjoy everything that you have worked for, everything that you get. You don't enjoy the whole thing. You start tyaga. You start dedicating some of it to the service of the Lord. So you give donations, you give in charity, you perform sacrifice. You have to link whatever is the fruit, because karma means to work for the result. It's also called in English fruitive activity. You work to get. Who will go to work if there is no salary at the end of the month? Tell me. People work because of the salary, and with the salary, they buy things and they enjoy. So karma yoga means that you keep doing your material duties and you dedicate some. You donate to the brahmanas, you donate to the temple, and you do whatever is recommended for your varna, ashram, whatever. And so in that way you become detached, because the very big problem, I need to eat because I think I am this body. I think I am this body, so I need to eat. So, and I think that if I don't work, I will starve. But this is not what Krishna says. Krishna explains, big elephants in the forest. 1 ton food per day they need, and they get it by nature's arrangement. So actually how much we eat and how tasty it is, it all depends on all the karmas we have done previously. And in this lifetime, we get the reactions for the good and the bad that we have been doing. So therefore, the Bhagavatam says that in this lifetime, you don't worry about your maintenance. It is already ensured from all the things you have done before. You will be fed in this lifetime. So you don't worry about that. You transfer your, efforts towards spiritual emancipation, because that is actually what will please Lord Narayan. That we get emancipated and we become enlightened and we seek to return to him. So karma yoga is that activity of giving up some of the fruit of one's activities. And it is said in the beginning, you have a mango tree in your garden and it's producing 100 mangoes. So you eat them all. Then somehow you hear about karma yoga and you know that you have to become detached from this possessive mentality over this mango tree and the desire to enjoy and so on. So you give in charity 1 mango. But it's good. The next year, you give 2 mangoes and you eat 98. And as the years pass, you give 50 mangoes in charity and still you're satisfied with enjoying 50 of them. And like that, you increase the detachment and it will increase naturally. Not that you have to force yourself and pain. Oh, no, it will come naturally. The detachment will grow. And as the detachment grows, it will, the mode of passion, because attachment is mode of passion, the desire, the attachment, that will decrease. And then slowly, slowly you give 99 mangoes, but 1 you keep. And that's where Srila Prabhupada said, why do you keep this 1 cigarette between you and Krishna? Just leave it. And the result of giving up the fruits of one's activities is that the mode of goodness will increase in our consciousness to the point of enlightenment. And one will actually realize, because goodness generates jnana. And one will come to the level of knowledge. I know. Oh, now I got it. I know. What do I know? I am not this body. This is where karma yoga takes us. It takes us to this realization, I am not this body. And this is particularly what we were reading today. What are the symptoms of one who perfected karma yoga? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, there is a question from Hemangini Priya Mataji. She, please accept my humble obeisances. I have one question. How do we deal with devotees who always speak ill of you?
Of you means of ourselves, or?
I guess it is ourselves, but if she is there, Mataji, if it is, can you please clarify? Hemangi Mataji?
Anyway, I guess that's what she means, that some people never praise, never appreciate. They always have something negative. She says, yes, they always have something negative to say about us. So, and we are not stita pragya. So it affects us. We feel discouraged, and so on, depressed, or yeah. So it's a little difficult when people are speaking ill about us. I will tell a story. Stories are good. A story of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that Srila Prabhupada told himself. That when he was in Calcutta, in Bagh Bazar, Bhaktisiddhanta was living there, and there was a man in the neighborhood who was always speaking ill of Bhaktisiddhanta. He was always criticizing Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he never said anything about it, but his disciples, the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta, they hated that man, naturally. They really didn't like him. They hated him. And then one day, that man died. He died, and the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they were so happy. Finally, the guy died, you know, and they were so happy. So they went in a happy mood to Bhaktisiddhanta, and they told him that, oh, Prabhupada, they used to call him, Prabhupada, he died. You know, that guy who always criticized you, he died. And they were like in the mood that he died of his offenses and he was so terrible and it's so good that he died. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati became very serious. And he practically became sad. And he said, oh, he was my best friend. This is what he said. He was my best friend. Because everybody else is praising me all the time. But this one always reminded me of who I really am. You know, and he made sure that I can never be puffed up, because he always, you know, kept me on track. And he always showed me, you know, the traces of bad qualities in me. So there are different ways. It's for those who speak ill of others, it's not good. For them, it's not good. We should not criticize others. And if they are Vaishnavas, then we are on the wrong track, certainly. But for a Vaishnava, when people speak ill about us, it's not easy to take. But as I said with Bhaktisiddhanta, we can say that, okay, they are just reminding me of the faults in my heart. Another thing we can think is, I must have offended them or spoken ill of them in a previous life. And in this life, they are getting back to me. Another thing we can think is that whatever they say is to make sure that I should learn to be equipoised, as I've read in the Bhagavad Gita. I should learn not to be disturbed with what they are saying. So there are different ways to take it positively. Another thing you can do is to pray for them, that, oh my Lord, please deliver them from their tendency to criticize, because it's very detrimental to their spiritual life. We can also feel grateful towards those people and say, thank you so much. Yes, you know, actually, if you knew, I'm so worse. Actually, you have no clue. I am so much worse than what you think I am. And this is what an advanced devotee would think, that I am actually such a fallen person. I am such a rascal. I'm so bad. I'm so rebellious to the Lord. I'm such a non-devotional person. And these people are just speaking of some very small fault in me. There is so much of a major fault in me that I'm actually inimical to Krishna, you know. So another way to see that is that whatever we get, we deserve. You know, as we said, there is the laws of karma. So when people criticize us, it's a kind of pain which comes to us. It's not part of sukha, it's part of dukkha. So it means it's a reaction for negative activities. So it's suffering. So whatever suffering we get, you know, Bhagavatam is very clear about that. It's Atma Vipakam, Atma Kritam. It is done by me. No one else is responsible for the trouble that comes to me. It's not them, these people who are such a bad tongue. It's not them. I deserve it. I deserve it, and I should be grateful that I'm not getting more. So these are some ways to take things. But besides that, for the benefit of others, we may, want to open our heart to someone else, and maybe some people can somehow advise them and talk to them to get rid of this bad habit of criticizing people. So these are some of the answers that I come to my mind that I can say. It's not necessarily bad when people talk bad about us. It's painful. So we, according to the teachings of the Bhagavatam, when something painful comes in our life, we need to tolerate it with the understanding that we are the cause of it. And we need to offer our obeisances to the Supreme Lord, and we need to continue serving Him with a humble mind, very humble mind. And instead of becoming inimical to the people who criticize us, we should rather pray for them, and we should also from within beg their forgiveness, because somewhere we made a mistake. Either we offended them or we offended someone else. And it's not them who should apologize to us for criticizing. It's us who should also apologize to them or to whoever we have offended, which is because of that action, we are now getting those reactions. So this is, you will say, wow, this is a very elevated vision. But these are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we cannot escape. As long as we try to defend ourselves, it means we are creating more and more circles of karma for the future. So we don't want, we are satisfied with what Krishna gives us. We are satisfied, whether it's happiness or distress. That's all what it is. I think it's Narada who says, Tasyeva heto prayate tako vido nalabhyate brahmatam paryada. It says that in this lifetime, we are not concerned with anything from the top of the universe to the top beyond. We are not concerned with seeking happiness. We are not concerned with trying to counteract distress or keep distress at bay. No. Those who are intelligent, they act for the purpose of self-realization, for the purpose for they act, we will say, for something which is not obtained in this world. We want to obtain something in another world. We want to go to Krishna Loka. We want to be with the Lord. We want to please the Lord. So we should engage in our devotional service and not be so affected by what people say. Sometimes people will say lots of things. What can we do? We should continue serving Krishna with all humility, because that is the only solution anyway. Devotional service will burn all these bad reactions. It will burn it. It will destroy everything. But if we start fighting back or getting affected, we are wasting time.
Hare Krishna,
Okay.
Mataji.
Maybe we should stop. Do you know what time it is on my side? It is 10:15.
No, I know, Mataji, there are lots of questions, but lots of people have also given their danwats to you. So I will now hand over the podium to Mansi Ganga Mataji. She will close the session as well for us. Mansi Ganga Mataji, because of time.
Path is not there, huh?
Oh, I didn't
Path
know.
is, no, I think he was there, but I think he left.
No, Mataji, I am here, but you
Oh,
can.
so then, no, I just,
No, Mataji, you said you wanted to acknowledge.
No,
yeah.
Mataji.
No, I wanted to kind of acknowledge some of the devotees who came, but they left also. One was Shamananda from South Africa, Shamananda Premalila. Then Anthony from Mumbai. Then Neha is still there, Eldoret Neha. There was a new girl, Dhanu, who came. And Priya Govinda, of course, we have to thank him. And Avni from Nairobi. So I'd really like to thank, but I think some of them left. But still, I'm sure
I was very happy to see a girl from Ahmedabad, Payal Raval. Hey.
And
Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
And Hemangni is from Nairobi, by the way, though she was originally in Ahmedabad. She got married, she's married to Janki's brother.
Oh.
So she's here now. And she is also from Ahmedabad.
Who is that? Who is married to Janaki's brother?
Hemangni, who asked you the
Hemangni
question
Kakam.
about people criticizing. I think it's her.
Okay.
Yes, are you? Hemangni? Is she there?
She's gone, I think. She's gone.
Oh. Govinda also was there, he left.
Was Hemangini Priya Mataji, the one who asked about speaking ill of you.
Yeah. She's left, no?
Yes.
No, she's there. Balaji's there.
No, not
Hemangini.
Balaji. Hemangni. Anyway, Path can take over. Prasantha, thank you very much. However, you don't track the time, but our people sometimes they track because they are hungry, it's their cooking time, their eating time, you know. So anyway, Kritika will conclude and Path will, so as fast as we can.
Path Prabhuji? Path
I would
Prabhuji?
just like to quickly mention Sudama Prabhu all the way from Iran. He's a very dear friend of the VIH.
Oh,
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Bol.
Iran, he joined us on the call. Thank you, Sudama Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, that's good. That's what I'm
Hare
saying.
Krishna, thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
Oops, you
Oh,
should
Hare
come up.
Krishna Prabhu. Nice to see you.
Thank you for joining our group, Prabhuji. We meet every day at 8 o'clock. So you're welcome from Iran.
Oh, we have Bal Krishna Prabhu also. Is that from Kisumu?
Yes, you remember?
Of course.
Oh, yeah, he's from, oh, yeah, because he did his Bhakti Shastri with you, right?
Very nice. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's why he's been here today the whole time. Okay, Prashanta, I thought you had a class, Ishopanishad, no?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow. That's why now I'm
Oh,
going.
tomorrow.
Okay, Mataji. Path Prabhuji, please take over.
I think he got busy now. He's
We
outside.
have one
No, he's
question, like
talking, but
asked,
we are not.
Kritika,
I
you do.
asked one question. Can we have that if anyone is having the time? I'm sorry.
Hare
Hari Bol.
Prabhuji, can you end the session by glorifying?
Okay. Can you glorify or there is question?
No questions because
Okay. It's time is over. Okay. Thank you very much. So we'll be, maybe your question you can write, then Manshinganga Mataji and other can give your answer, Mataji. So there is too late in India. We are so glad, we are so grateful of our grace. Mataji's class is so nice, so wonderful. We request Mataji, please join with us on every Saturday in the same time so that we can learn something about Krishna consciousness. Also,
Yes, from her.
we thank for all the
She's
devotees
left.
are joined in Zoom. We are so great. Please join. We are doing every day at 8 o'clock and different speakers are coming in the different time. Especially in Saturday, we are doing in 6:30, 6 o'clock. So for glorification of Mataji Prasanta Mataji, and also glorification of all the devotees across the world, we are chanting Hare Krishna mantra once. Please join with us. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Thank you, Mataji.
Prashant,
Prasanta Mataji
Grace
ki jai.
Prashanta Mataji ki
Ki jai.
jai.
Mataji
Hare
ki jai.
Krishna.
So are you saying a
Jai.
yes or no, Prashanta?
See you next Saturday, Mataji. Prashanta Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Say yes,
Krishna.
don't say Hare Krishna. Say yes.
Very happy to be with you all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Next
Hare
Saturday.
Haribo. We'll let you
Haribo.
off now.
We will tell
Haribo.
you the text. Tell you the text, but you'll be there.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.